What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Data Delicacies. I'm your host, Arun Kumar. This is powered by Incentivio. Here's where we bring the best and brightest in the industry to talk all things data, all things tech, all things hospitality. Today, we have a very fun guest on the show, coming out from the Bay Area, a fellow basketball player like myself, which we were chatting about before we got on here. And we actually have the fortune of seeing each other all over the world now. We just hung out in London a couple of weeks ago and got to eat some great food and hang out there. So would love to introduce Mateen Habib, the VP of Growth at GoTab. Mateen, thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course, man. Thanks for jumping on. So would love to kind of dive into the meat of today's episode and the theme, which, essentially is around the concept of food halls and this hybrid service model that we're seeing, pop up more and more. Again, not only in North America, but we saw it in the UK. There's a lot of food halls there. It's becoming a huge thing, especially in the metros. Would love to talk about how you're seeing that hybrid service model and those food halls evolve, maybe it was a change after the pandemic, and how, GoTab, you guys are really kind of meeting them at that apex and giving them what they need. But kind of first start with this rise in food halls and hybrid service models. Like, how have you seen that evolution and how do you see things continue to evolve over the next few years?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And I think in my experience, what we've seen is the restaurant industry has taken some big hits, especially since COVID. This gets talked about a lot, I'm sure, but rising cost of goods, rising labor. I mean, it's the forefront of everyone's mind. And so I think that just naturally the way the industry is sort of trended, especially after COVID, was toward an experiential component to the dining experience. I think new venues opening up, at least, sort of where we're focused is on that experiential dining segment, whether that's entertainment, food halls, etc. And so I think because of all the issues that operators are facing right now, hybrid service in general has become almost a necessity. Either you're going to have some sort of experiential component to the dining experience that draws people in beyond just great food, because most areas that you go to right now, you can find great food. And so is it enough to just be a restaurant that serves great food? Sometimes, but I think oftentimes you kind of need something else there. Whether that's fine dining is experiential dining in my mind as well, or there's some sort of, again, something that draws people together and enables them to have a more present experience than just coming to sit and eat.
Yeah, it's funny you mention. I get these ads on my phone now for this place that does like these AR kind of images on your table as you're getting served, right? So again, I think super fine dining, but they incorporate this like AR like projection on your plate, so it's like a whole
Yes,
story.
yeah. I just
Yeah,
saw a
yeah.
YouTube video of like, I think it was Mr. Beast eating at one of those places.
Yeah, there you go. And again, I know you just did a bit of a Europe trip yourself, right? You were in the UK and then in Paris. Again, Paris, I mean, London is a huge dining hub in the world, but Paris is, that's where a lot of stuff originated. Were you seeing kind of a similar thing there? I mean, they're very much known for fine dining, white tablecloth, that whole vibe. Were you seeing a bit of a mixed hybrid approach there as well?
I would say definitely less so in Paris. It seems to me that, in certain regions, people are a little bit more present and they can sit there with nothing in front of them chatting for 2 hours. And that's, especially in like, I think France, that's maybe more part of the culture there. So out there, I would say less so. I think people are pretty fine with the way things are going. However, this is some when I was an operator, I think this is something that I would kind of harp on my like servers about more than anything else. It's just timely greetings, timely like closing people out. My biggest pet peeve used to always be closing people out quickly and efficiently. And I think the problem is, for a server who's got five to some, we were high volume, we would have servers take 10 tables. Time is flying by for them. It's
Right.
Yeah, time to them is nothing. But as a guest, once you're done eating, and I always say, like, this is America, when you're done eating, you want your check, you want to get out. And so I used to harp on people to not hold people hostage. And one of the things I would do in an all staff meeting is I would say, okay, we're just going to not say anything. Let's everyone just be quiet. This is like a room full of, say, 60 people. And so for a minute, I would just, no one would say a word. And then I would ask at the end, how long did that feel like to you guys? And people would guess anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes, which is like insane. And it sounds insane talking about it. But it really does feel like that. And if you're sitting there quietly, not engaged with the person you're sitting with, just waiting for your check so you can leave,
Right.
every minute feels like 5 to 10 minutes. And so, when you see the bad Yelp review come in and it's like, oh, they left me waiting for 15 minutes. It's like, hey, it probably wasn't 15 minutes, but that was their reality. And so we need to just be on it. And so, coming from the operator side, I think we've always been hungry for a solution that can enable that sort of hybrid approach where you get, and to me, a hybrid approach means giving the guests the option. If a server is in the middle of taking an order for an eight top and then they get three more tables sitting down, why not enable them the option to be able to look at their menu and actually start ordering from their phone? The server's still going to get to them, but at least now they can start their experience, and we're going to add to their experience by giving them, the full service, that high touch point kind of like that you're looking for, but at the same time, um, give the guests the ability to do a little bit more. And I think marrying those concepts, at least what I like to pitch is optionality. I think that goes a really long way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that approach. I mean, I think back to my own dining experiences or times where I've been out for, maybe it's a place, a larger venue, right? Where the waiter waitress can't necessarily make as many touches to you because they're probably dealing with a few tables or it's a big space. And I think to myself, like, hey, it may came a few more times I would have ordered a couple more drinks or a couple more apps, but they just didn't. Versus I know sometimes where they have the mobile ordering option, I can just, keep tacking it on. And I think what I've seen, I remember a few years ago, there was a kind of a few companies in the space that were really pushing on kind of the order pay a table piece. And some of the pushback from operators were like, hey, well, we think we're going to lose out on tips if that's the case, right? So like, I'm sure that comes up in your conversations. Like, how do you combat that pushback from operators and the waiting staff saying like, hey, like I'm going to lose out on some money by having technology take this over?
Yeah, I think there's a certain arrogance that comes with thinking that you're, like if you're in a hot like Michelin star place where you have all the attention in the world, yeah, you're going to get a great experience and there will be no gaps in service. The problem is that's not reality in the
Mm.
95+% of restaurants. And so I think it's a little bit vain to assume that you're going to be able to give a better experience. And I'm not saying that like we're trying to take away servers. It's giving the guest the option. If they want to ignore the ability to take any part of the guest experience upon themselves, they can completely ignore that. But the nice part is if you give the guest the option, and we also do things like we'll put default tips in. If the guest doesn't close their tab at the end of the night, we'll auto close it out to that default tip. So ultimately, servers actually end up making more money because not just are we doing the default tip if the guest doesn't choose to pick a different tip amount. We're also enabling them to take on bigger sections. So we've been able to enable servers to take double the section that they were used to. So maybe if they were
Mhm.
doing 5 to 6 tables before, they're taking 12 to 15. And it's all because you kind of watch adoption and you'll realize that after a certain amount, after implementing that hybrid approach, you'll see that like depending on where your region, 70 to 80% of the guests are comfortable taking on some portion of the guest experience for themselves. They can close out what they want, they can leave, and now you're taking away the server doing this and running a credit card and walking back, like to be able to just give the guests the option to leave when they want or order when they want or get another round. That is everything. And so servers start taking larger sections. They end up selling more because guests do order about 35% more on average when you enable the hybrid model. And they're taking care of a lot of the pieces of the experience for themselves. So ultimately, bigger sections, more sales, and steady tip percentage. So it ends up, servers end up loving the
Yeah.
experience once you launch it.
Yeah, yeah, that's you brought up a few interesting points there, and I want to just pick your brain on this piece. So what I've noticed a lot now in fast casual QSRs, actually, sorry, more QSRs, it's almost like the second you walk in the door, it's just kiosks, right? Like you almost have to get through the minefield of kiosks if you want to make your way to the front. And even at the front, they maybe just have one person now versus before it used to be like an army of people with tills. And it's almost pushing you towards a kiosk experience. And I think maybe, I think sometimes it's great. Like it's easy. You can customize your order, simple. You can go. Do you feel that, and then before I ask the question here, what I've also seen from both operators and all the different people that I've talked to on the show, they talk about guest experience. A lot of it just comes down to that personable touch you get from someone, right? It could be the person remembering your name or, oh, it's your birthday. We're just gonna give you this on the house, like that kind of stuff. Where do you see, some of these more complex service models, in bigger venues like entertainment and food halls? Where do you see them going down a path of like keeping it fully digital? Are you still always going to have that sense of like personable people like doing the touching? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, that's a great prompt. I think so. I have a few different thoughts on that, but what I would say is in the experiential dining sector, if you will, the entertainment space, your food halls, etc. I think because in those areas, like you don't go to those venues necessarily like often by yourself. Those are usually more group experiences, which is part of the draw. I think the idea is like let's draw a crowd of people in, a group of people in, go in with a friend, and it's an experience. It's more than just I'm coming here to eat. And so in traditional restaurants, by all means, I think like the server has a huge potential impact on what the guest experience, just from the greeting and that energy level that you give to your guests by just simply greeting them with some energy. They may have their cat may have just died. They may have just had a stressful day at work. They're coming in to kind of have some kind of escape, grab a drink, whatever. But in the food hall space or entertainment space, I think you're coming in with a group and you're looking to kind of like have, maybe your own experience. You can still impart through host-in or at the counter when you're ordering. You can still impart like that added energy level that brings the guest up, but it's not necessarily as critical in my experience to have someone else help facilitate that guest experience. I think for us, we're really focused on creating a consolidated ordering experience and making it as easy as possible for the guests to order more or to order from multiple vendors in a food hall, for example, in one kind of like easy tab. And I'll give you an example where we were in Nashville last year, a big group of us for a conference, and we actually walked into a big food hall. And the first thing we did was there were 15 vendors and it's a huge food hall. And you walk in and you're like, okay, let's go, split up. So the first thing you do is you go and you split up and you're all looking, and I'm the type of person I have to like make the most informed food decision. I can't just pick whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm going vendor to vendor.
Yeah.
I'm picking out every option. And I'm like, okay, I think I want this from this place and this from this place. And so now I have to go wait in one line, finally get my order, and then go wait in another line, get that order in. And now I have to find everyone else in the party. So I might find a table on the other side of the building. And now we're all texting, trying to find each other. It's a really historically disjointed experience, or it can be. And I think being able to enable kiosk where you can go up to a kiosk and order, from all the vendors on one tab, go sit down at a table first with your group and just, scan a QR code and start ordering that way. Or I mean, we for a lot of food halls, we do RFID ordering as well, where you can get RFIDs issued as part of access to your tab, essentially. And then you can go from vendor to vendor ordering with the RFID, and everyone in your group can be adding to this one single tab. And it just streamlines the experience. It makes it easier, to stay together and not make it stressful, because it is stressful especially if you take food seriously, which I do.
Yes.
I'm not just going to pick any vendor.
I know I'm in the same boat. I mean, I've been to, I love food halls because I think you get a good taste of everything, right? Because you may not just be feeling one thing. You may want an app from here, main from here, dessert from here, or drink from here, whatever. Or if you're doing a bunch of sharing, it's always good. I think even nowadays too, where there's a much higher prevalence of dietary restrictions and food preferences, right? So where people, you may have a group of people that love sushi, other people love burgers, other people want pizza, other people want a salad, and you can get all of that in one And you get to also try different things, which I think is always great. And again, I think even, traveling across Europe, I've seen a ton of food halls. Like it's a huge, huge concept there. Starting to see a lot more pop up now, especially here in the city of Toronto and some of the major, major cities I've traveled across the States. Are you seeing a growing amount of food halls pop up now across the US that you're working with? Like, and do you see that trend continue to grow over the next little bit?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, this is obviously like our space in a big way.
Yeah.
So we are definitely seeing it just tangentially, or sorry, anecdotally. That said, I do see it continuing to grow. I mean, it seems to me that like, um, I think I think you can facilitate the same, I guess what's the yeah, ultimately, I guess what I would say is like I think that we're going to continue to see trends toward experiential dining, and within the food halls or within the entertainment venue, for example, like you're going to see more event driven experiences,
Mm,
or you know like activity based, I think, experiences, like ways to activate your space that again draws the groups of people together, because again, it's easy to go out to just a normal mom and pop restaurant, or if you want food, you can go to a quick service restaurant and it's quicker and it's fast. But when you're going, when you want to escape or you want to kind of continue to have a um, again, I think it's more just you're driving people toward experiences, and so being able
right.
to do that around food or activities, I think it's just there's no way. I mean, as much as we think that the metaverse or whatever, like it's going to take over humanity. At the end of the day, we need to interact with other people. It's just such a human, basic, core,
Yeah.
thing that we're driven to. So being able to have places where we can go escape
Yes.
together and just be present with each other, I don't ever see that going away, and I think that's kind of a growing segment for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you brought up a lot of great points. This is probably a very like tangent sidetrack question, but I thought it'd be a cool one to bring up here. So, you talked about how in Europe, and I see this here. I grew up there when I was younger, and I remember that the whole concept of the dining experience there was it's not just like an hour thing, right? You're sitting there for hours, you're chatting, it's a lot of conversation. To your point, like they can just sit there and talk, have a coffee and talk for like 2 hours, like that whole vibe, which you don't see so much of that here. I remember when I first came, I came to Canada in 2000, so 25 years ago, and dining here was such a transactional experience, right? Like you go, you eat, like this whole concept of like tapas and sharing, like it's fairly new in the sense, like the last 5 to 10 years where like they've started, having these models where it's like, hey, it's a sharing type of meal. Where like I grew up, that's how every meal was, right? It was never like, okay, I order my own starter and I order my own main, and then I order my own dessert, and then like here's my moat, no one touch it, and then we all
Right.
we all leave. Which I think is very much a cultural thing. Do you see that shifting in North America, or are we just so kind of dependent on having that experience, or like we're so go 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 here that that's kind of the path that we're always going to go, or do you see some sort of shift in that happening anytime soon?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a challenge to just continue to do the same thing. I think like if you want food, then you can order from quick service, or you can make your own food at home. And so that was something I always used to talk about with, our staff, is like anyone that's coming into our restaurant or brewery, like they're coming here for a reason. They're coming here for some level of escape. Like they don't want to be at home eating right now because they could. And so if you keep it strictly transactional, I don't think you're going to do well. I mean, you'd have to have some other, like the food would have to be amazing and the atmosphere awesome. But again, like at the end of the day, you're going out for a reason. So I think being able to impart something there,
Mm,
obviously in quick service, it doesn't really matter. And maybe fast casual, less so as well. Like you're coming in, you want to eat and you don't really necessarily care about the experiential component. I think for mom and pop restaurants, just like a traditional sit down full service restaurant, it's tough because the cost is so high. So I know,
right.
at least anecdotally, I mean, not even just anecdotally. I mean, I see the stats on this too, but like a lot of just traditional restaurants are struggling right now, and I think a big part of it is like the cost is really high. So to just go out to just a regular restaurant and not have some experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
come like attached to it, you're just spending a lot of money to go out and eat. And if the service is great, then you remember that. And the next time you want to go there, like, yeah, the service was great. I had a general good time. And I don't really know why I had a good time, but maybe it
Mm,
was because the atmosphere, it was because the staff was friendly and it just made me feel good and it made the food
right,
taste better because
right.
they brought their energy level, brought my energy level up. And if
Yeah.
you continue to do that, you're going to do fine, I think. But I think it can get really tough if you're just a restaurant that you go out to eat and spend, 25 plus for an entree for, that it's getting tougher.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a challenge, and I'm starting to see it here in Toronto. Like a lot of the either staple restaurants that have been here for a while or new ones that are popping up, what they're trying to incorporate into the dining experience, like right off the bat, you can tell, right? It has to be a very experiential thing. They're taking time with the decor and the music and the lighting and everything is just all that stuff comes into play because I think our standards are also so high now, right? Like all the stuff that we're seeing and the stuff we're used to, and we go to these restaurants where like we have this like bar of like what we expect to be a good dining experience. And to your
Yeah.
point, the food could be great, but it's the food plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. And it's an ever evolving thing because all of our preferences change so quickly all the time. And that's why, honestly, I have a love-hate relationship with Vegas. I mean, you go there probably a lot too for all these conferences. But the reason I love Vegas is because the dining experiences there are always top notch, right? It's all I mean, of all the places you go, it's like all over the top and it's very like experiential and you have all this stuff going and, the decor and the service usually is very good. Like for the most part, I don't think in Vegas, for the most part, I mean, I always call it Carbone I think they do a really good job with their service where the guy can rattle off the whole wine list just off the back of his hand. Like that
Right.
kind of stuff is great. And you remember that.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, and if you want to throw down and get that full experience, then
Yeah.
great. But I think for just your regular lunch, like you might go, you're going to be probably like penny pinching a little bit because you're going to go out and get a fancy dinner or something that has more of that experiential component to it. So
Yeah.
but then you kind of have to sacrifice somewhere. So yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
think you
but
nailed it.
you know what's interesting though? I find that myself now mentally, if I'm looking for places, I find this when I'm traveling too. Sometimes I actually look for the hole in the wall mom and pop place that doesn't have all the crazy stuff because it almost gives me a sense of like, hey, this food's gonna be really good. Like
Yeah.
if they have just a bare bones place, it looks like you're eating in their kitchen or their living room. Like this place is probably the food's probably really good because that's why it's stuck around. So I almost like mentally sometimes look for that because I'm like, it'll probably be somewhat cheaper, but like the food will be unbelievable. And maybe sometimes I don't want the crazy experience stuff. I just want to have a nice meal and then just get
Yeah.
out.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think their differentiator is value. If they look like they've been there for 30 years, there's probably a reason they've made it that long. So yeah, you can go trust that that food's going to be good, and they're not going to be charging you you know more for all the fanciful things that they've added to that experience as well. I
Nice.
think you can get away with charging more when you have that experiential component to it, and that's what you see in fine dining
Right.
or
Right. Yeah. Well, let's take a step back here. I mean, we've been talking about kind of industry in general, but what are some of the things you're seeing? Just you travel a lot. You talk to a lot of different companies. I mean, we go to a lot of these conferences. We see a lot of cool tech out there. What's some of the stuff you're seeing now that's becoming, super prevalent, that's fairly new, and what excites you about the next few years in terms of some of the new tech that's entering the space?
Yeah, from a technology standpoint, I mean, I think there's a lot, and I get excited about operational efficiency.
Mm.
In my former life, that's all I was focused on is how do we make the experience, faster, more efficient, et cetera. And so I think, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic about robots and things like that. And the only reason I even go there is because I think labor is top of many operators' minds. You're seeing we're losing tip credit in a lot of different states. I mean, I'm in California where we never had the tip credit.
Right.
Uh, and for those who don't know, that's where you can make up for minimum wage with tips. As a buffer there for a lot of operators. So for me, I think places I was managing in Berkeley were like I think we were near 17 an hour when I left. So you could be doing 2.5, 3, 4 million a year and still be at 45, 50% labor. And so I think what excites me from a technology standpoint is ways to kind of mitigate those high labor costs so that restaurants can, small mom and pops can come in with their dream of opening a restaurant and being successful. And I think, having more tools to be able to succeed with that is that's exciting to me. So yeah, I mean, I've I don't even know how to specifically answer that because there's so many different things I've seen with AI, for example, having I forget there's a few companies that I've seen that do this, but they'll have a camera over the prep station and they'll
Mhm.
tell you like how much you've depleted and how, are people taking the right amount and things like that. More for quick service, but still, I think that's pretty interesting. Um, we do some pretty, I think, out there like unusual things with RFID ordering. We do some things around like we can text the guest their tab. We call it Easy Tab. So it's part of the normal experience when you walk up to a bar, for example. I can go order a round of drinks and then we'll text you your tab.
Mm.
Uh, that guest can now go sit down wherever they want, continue ordering on their phone, or they can close out from their phone, or they can get up and move around in like let's say a food hall or a entertainment type space where there's kind of like movement, and the tab follows the guests wherever they go. So it makes the guest experience so much smoother, and it reduces the need for as much labor. Um, and so, and then you can activate more spaces too. Like if you have a very large venue that on a Friday, Saturday night is, completely full, but on a Monday day is pretty dead, like you can run a large venue now with like a bartender on a Monday lunch and maybe one runner. And we can activate different spaces and turn on different rules for those different spaces, which just enables a more operationally efficient labor model, and giving the guest the optionality to kind of do more with less.
Mm. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I can't think about a number of times, you start a tab at a bar and then your card's somewhere back there. Then you're yelling at the guy, I want to add more, which name? You're trying to yell your name. I don't know which one. And it's like, that's super cool stuff. I think it's exciting, man. And yeah, I think I agree. There's, again, you come from that operator mindset and, you're kind of thinking about the efficiency stuff. And I think it's so cool to see some of the platforms out there that, to such a granular level can show you how you can save and how you can be more efficient. Cause I mean, nowadays the margins are so thin and costs are going up and it's like, you got to be able to do more with less. I think that's really the name in the game. And I guess, again, appreciate your thoughts there. All great stuff. I'm sure we could probably dive into that much deeper. But question I have for you is, you were an operator, right? You're managing restaurants. What brought you over to the dark side, I would say, the the vendor side?
Yeah, well, it's so it was during COVID that we actually used GoTab at all five of the locations I was operating. And so we had actually, it's funny enough, we had never heard of GoTab at the time, but they were doing this sort of like they were doing QR ordering well before QRs were on anyone's like radar even. So they were definitely ahead of the time when we were actually talking about building like our own app at one point, and looking into developing that, which I'm so glad we didn't go down that road because now that I'm seeing the other side, I'm like, oh, we were so naive. But
Right.
when the pandemic hit, we rolled out QR code ordering at all the venues, and it was through that process that I got to know the GoTab folks, and for me, my role was always about growth in my previous role. So we were always looking to, new venues. How do we make things more efficient? How do we grow, and continue like a path of operational efficiency and adding I don't know, like my previous role was really focused on that until the
Mhm.
pandemic hit, and then the name of the game became cost cut, cost cut, cost cut. Like how do we cut costs? How do we reduce staff? GMs are at the host end and handing out takeout orders. So the timing made sense. I was actually looking to open my own place, or I had been talking to the GoTab team at the time. I was between opening my own place and joining GoTab, and zero regrets. I'm so super glad I ended up going with GoTab, and it's been quite the journey since then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hear nothing but great things about y'all, and I've been, privileged to be partnering with you at two different companies now, and excited to see the, kind of meeting the needs of what's out there. And yeah, to your point, especially after you talking about it, it's just the I can see the challenge on the operator side to come up with these creative, experiential ways to draw guests into their restaurants. And how you guys are kind of meeting them at that apex, but then also just this model of now like ghost kitchens, commissary kitchens, food halls, entertainment, right? Like I mean, it's kind of combining those two things, and because we crave so much more than just sitting down and eating. Apparently, that's not enough for us anymore. Just sitting down and having a good
Yeah.
meal. You got to add in the circus behind the scenes and the music and all the stuff. But it also makes it fun, right? It makes you want to go out more and do more stuff and create more memories. And yeah, it's super super cool to hear. Kind of like, and it's going to be really cool to see where the stuff goes, right? I think we've only scratched the surface now, and I think you start to add some of the stuff around AR and VR and there's a lot of cool stuff I think we can go with this, and it's exciting to see what the next few years look like.
Yeah, I think in the food hall space too. I mean, just there's a lot of people who want to open, like they have dreams of opening restaurants. There's a lot of good food out there, and I think being able to kind of bring people together in an area that or into a space that houses so many different people's dreams and cultures, and be able to give them such like so many
Yeah.
good food options in one place. And it's low entry and it's less risk because again, you're not taking on the risk of opening your own brick and mortar. You're sharing this across multiple vendors. And um, I think for so many reasons that food hall trend is going to definitely continue upward.
Yeah. Great way to test some stuff out too, right? Quick menu item, whatever it is, or even a concept. I think I know some folks in the city that they test out a new concept at a food hall for like a couple weeks, see how it goes, and then they can decide if they want to go brick and mortar from there. So,
Makes sense.
um, Mateen, appreciate you. Oh, there's my Google going off. Appreciate you jumping on. Shared a lot of great stuff. Again, I feel like we've had a lot of great conversation. We're probably going for a lot of time on a lot of different topics, but I think to the core topic of today, we got a lot out of. So really appreciate you sharing there. Typically, how we wrap up each episode is with the lightning round. So I kind of fire off a few questions at you. First thing that comes to mind, let's hear it, just so that everyone gets to know you a little bit more. So if you're ready to go, let's do it.
Uh-oh. All right. I'm
All right.
nervous.
Now simple stuff. So just start simple one. What's your favorite current cocktail or mocktail of choice?
I'm pretty set on a classic tequila. I love mezcal or yeah, a mezcal tequila would be probably up there.
You
Spicy
put
mark
a
sort of
spicy
thing.
mark. Do you have a specific mezcal that you're choosing over others right now?
No, I'm not that fancy with it. I just sort of yeah. I'm a beer nerd, not a cocktail nerd.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so I guess what's your favorite beer on tap right now?
I do my like I think fallback is a good session like American style or German style Pilsner.
Okay.
I do love session IPAs in general, but like a hoppy like American Pilsner or a German Pilsner is one of my go-tos.
Nice, nice. So you're a big basketball guy. Who, in your opinion, is the best basketball player of all time?
It's gonna probably sound lame, but I'll say Michael Jordan.
Okay. Why you say Leon? That's my favorite, man. Hands
I mean,
down.
I don't know. It's just it's such a that would be a lot of people's answer. So I don't have some like big controversial answer for
Yeah,
you.
okay. And then no, so who's your favorite player that's currently playing right now in the league?
Um, so I guess I mean we didn't talk about this earlier. I play a lot of basketball. I don't watch a lot of
Oh, you don't
basketball.
oh, okay. Okay.
No, but I know enough. I guess I probably man, I don't know. I don't feel like I can give a confident answer there.
I mean, you can go Steph Curry. That's the easy one. I mean, Bay Area, right? You're there.
I
So
know that I was gonna say that, and I was like,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
that's
Um,
fair.
so I mean, you travel quite a bit. In your opinion, what is the best food city in the world?
Oh man, I gotta throw love to the Bay Area. I mean, I've traveled a lot of places. I think food is amazing. Well, you said the world. Um, Yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with the Bay Area. I mean, we have so much good food here. It's I think part of it too is like we have such good access to like fresh produce. So while there's great food in a lot of cities now, like everywhere, and I would put some of them maybe like right there with us, I think because of the California cuisine and all the fresh kind of like local produce that we get access to, I have to give it the leg up.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I remember, I don't know if it's still the case, but I think for a long time, San Fran had the most Michelin star restaurants in the city, right? Like I think for quite some time. And then I think, yeah, I remember this was way back when, but I've always had great dining experience when I come to San Fran. I mean, I feel like there's so many places I haven't gone to. There's one restaurant, I can't remember the name now, but oh,
Burma Superstar.
Burma Superstar.
I
Yeah.
live 3 blocks from one of their locations, actually.
Oh
They're
yeah, dude, that place was awesome. And I've been to both. One that's kind of more one that's obviously a little bit more like upscale, and then the other one was a bit more of a hole in the wall, but it was like a line like out and down the block, and we were lucky to get in when we did, but unbelievable food. Nice. Um, so let me ask you this. I mean, I know you came from this world, but like if you were to open up a restaurant or entertainment space, whatever it is tomorrow, what would be the vibe and what would be the theme?
Yeah, I mean, as I've been consulting with and working with so many of these entertainment type operators, I get jealous all the time of what they're doing. I would 100% love to be involved in like the type of place where you can go and actually like play games or whether it's bowling or darts or golf simulators
Mm.
are an interesting one. There's like so many different things you can do. We work with a lot of pickleball places. That's not necessarily as much of my passion, but basically like somewhere where you can come and do more than just eat. Like you can actually like play games and group activities while also being able to order food and drinks.
Yeah, it's crazy to see like pickleball has become huge. I mean, I think bowling was always bowling probably is like
Classic.
the classic one, right? And now we're seeing like much more like upscale bowling places that add like an arcade component or like, you have I mean, there's so much different stuff you're seeing like shuffleboard, all of that, darts. I think Flight Club is one that's pretty
Fly
cool.
clubs, love those
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And F1 arcade is becoming huge now too.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually just uh, was having a conversation with someone near them.
Yeah, yeah. So cool stuff. So, Mateen, I want to thank you again. Couple things before we wrap up here. Any last parting thoughts from your side?
No, I appreciate the time and opportunity to chat.
Of course, yeah. Always happy to have you on, man. And final thing is, what's if folks want to get a hold of you, contact with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, if you can always email me, Mateen, Mateen at gotab.io.
Cool.
Easy. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, again, folks, thanks for tuning in. Mateen, I just kind of want to recap some of you shared a lot of really cool stuff here. And I'll do my best and give it justice by recapping it as best as I can. But kind of the theme of today's podcast was about food halls and the complexity of the new hybrid service model, and essentially restaurants have had to modify the way they do things, right? It's not just the food anymore. The food obviously is a big component, but it's really that whole experiential side of things. And, the food sometimes just isn't enough. I think just because of our attention spans or our kind of flavor for what we expect when we go for dining, it's become a lot more than that. And, the concept of what you're providing now too is the ability for people to take that guest experience in their own hands a little bit, order more, which I think the kind of some folks think that it's going to take away from orders or take away from tips, but actually you see the inverse happening where you order more, you're tipping more, you can manage more tables, do more with less, which I think is what a lot of folks are looking for now. And this kind of rise of like entertainment food hall spaces, we're going to see a lot more of it. And the benefit is that you get to try a lot of cool things, and it becomes more of an experience rather than just like, hey, I'm going to go eat at this one place and just have this one meal, which I think it's be super exciting to see how that really grows over the next little bit. So. Thanks, man. Really good. Again, appreciate you jumping on. Again, that's Mateen. He's the VP of Growth over at GoTab. So reach out to him if you have any questions or just want to talk industry. I mean, he has a ton of experience from both sides of the coin, as you know. So it's always good to talk to folks, that join the dark side, the tech side, that come from an operator experience because they can speak to kind of what they've been through and resonate really well with other operators out there. So to wrap up, again, it's Arun here from Intuitivio. Data Delicacies is another episode we launch every Wednesday. Always looking for new guests on the show, so reach out to me directly if you want to be on. In the meantime, everyone stay safe, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.